While pregnant with his kid, my fiancé cheated with my best friend. He said I trapped him. She wore the ring he bought using my savings. Then I found his hidden phone with texts saying, "She'll be gone soon." I took it and walked into their engagement party. I was 6 months pregnant when I found out my fiancé had been cheating on me with my best friend. The same woman who had thrown my baby shower 2 weeks earlier, the one who called my unborn son her nephew. I found out on a Thursday night. I was folding tiny onesies when I saw a notification flash on his iPad, an iMessage from her. It said, "She'll be asleep soon, come over." At first, I couldn't breathe. I just stared at the words, my brain refusing to connect the dots. I thought maybe it was some sick joke. But when I scrolled up, I saw months, literal months of messages, photos, voice notes, plans, even hotel receipts. He had been sleeping with her since before he proposed. When I confronted him, he didn't even deny it. He sat there on the couch, arms crossed, and said, "You trapped me, you got pregnant on purpose. What did you expect?" Then she walked out from the hallway wearing his shirt. My best friend, her face wasn't even guilty. She just smirked and said, "You should have known he wasn't really into you." That's when I noticed the ring on her finger, my engagement ring, the same one he had saved up for. Except later, I found out he'd actually bought it using money from my own savings account. He called me unstable, told me I was scaring him and the baby when I started crying. Then he told me to leave his apartment, an apartment I'd been paying half the rent for since day one. The next morning, he texted me saying he'd changed the locks for safety reasons. I had nowhere to go. My parents were gone, and my closest relative lived 3 states away. I ended up sleeping in my car outside a 24-hour diner, wrapping myself in a blanket and praying my baby would be okay. My phone kept lighting up with messages, some from mutual friends telling me to let it go, others from her, sending me pictures of them together. I thought I had lost everything. Then one night, while I was cleaning out the car, I found his spare truck keys in my bag. I don't even remember throwing them in there. Something in me snapped. I drove to his place. He wasn't home. But the truck was parked in the driveway. I got inside and started looking. Don't even ask me what I was hoping to find. Maybe closure. Maybe proof he'd been lying even more. That's when I found it. A second phone, hidden under the passenger seat, wrapped in an old t-shirt. When I turned it on, the first message that popped up was from her. "She'll be gone soon, babe. Then we can finally live in peace." There were others, messages about making sure she doesn't come back, about not letting her ruin our lives. I didn't understand at first. But then I saw the dates, plans that lined up with things that had happened to me. My flat tire, my missing prenatal vitamins, the weird burning smell from my car a week earlier. My hands were shaking. I took that phone, got in my car, and drove straight to. When I met Derek, I wasn't looking for anything serious. I'd just moved to Austin after leaving a messy breakup behind in Phoenix. He worked at the auto shop next to the cafe where I waitressed. He was charming in that small-town, easy-smile way. Funny, helpful, the kind of guy who remembers your coffee order before you even say it. He asked me out after fixing my brakes for free. I said yes because he made me feel safe, something I hadn't felt in a long time. We moved fast. Within 4 months, we were living together in his apartment. By month 6, I was pregnant. It wasn't planned, but when I told him, he smiled, kissed my forehead, and said, "Guess it's time to grow up." I really believed we were happy. I left my job because the pregnancy made me sick and dizzy, and he said he'd handle everything. He made it sound like we were building something real, told me I didn't have to stress, that we were a team. Around that time, my best friend, Kayla, had started hanging out more. We'd known each other since high school. She was wild back then, party girl type, but she said she'd grown up. She'd been through a breakup too, so when she crashed on our couch for a week or two, I didn't think much of it. That week turned into a month. She'd cook dinner sometimes, bring groceries, even drive me to doctor appointments when Derek was busy. I thought she was helping. I thought I was lucky to have a friend who cared. I remember the first time I noticed something off. I woke up in the middle of the night and saw their shadows through the crack in the bedroom door, standing too close in the hallway. When I asked about it later, Derek laughed and said, "You're hormonal, babe, you're seeing ghosts." Kayla played along, acting offended that I'd even suggest something like that. I felt stupid. I apologized. But things kept feeling wrong. He'd take extra shifts even when money was fine. His phone started living face down. And Kayla suddenly had new clothes, new nails, a new phone, stuff she shouldn't have been able to afford, considering she was between jobs. I ignored it. I told myself stress was making me paranoid. My friends even said the same when I vented about it. Everyone loved Derek. He had that kind of personality that made people take his side before even hearing yours. Then one night, I caught him lying about where he'd been. He said he was closing up the shop, but one of his coworkers messaged me on Instagram asking if Derek was okay because he'd left hours earlier. When I asked him, he snapped, "You don't trust me after everything I've done for you." That night, he didn't come home. Kayla did. She said she'd been out with friends, but she smelled like his cologne. I knew something was happening, but I couldn't prove it. I cried myself to sleep that night. Looking back now, I think they were already planning everything: the proposal, the lies, even how to cut me out once the baby came. Because 2 weeks after that, he proposed to me at the same cafe where we met. Kayla was there, filming, smiling the widest. She hugged me afterward and whispered, "You deserve him." And I believed her. Until the night everything burned down. After Derek kicked me out, everything fell apart fast. I tried to find a new apartment, but no one wanted to rent to a pregnant woman with no income. My savings, what was left of them, were gone. I didn't realize until I checked my bank app from the diner parking lot that he'd transferred almost everything out over the past few weeks. He'd even closed one of my accounts for convenience. When I tried to call him, he blocked my number. So did Kayla. A few mutual friends texted to say I was causing drama and should focus on the baby instead of revenge. I hadn't even mentioned revenge. I just wanted my stuff, my documents, my prenatal vitamins. But Derek told everyone I was losing it. Said pregnancy, hormones had made me paranoid, that I'd been harassing him and Kayla. The thing that hurt the most was how easily people believed him. He posted photos of them together online, like nothing had happened, smiling, holding hands, calling her my rock. My stomach turned every time I saw it. I tried to go to his place once to grab my things. He threatened to call the cops. Said if I didn't leave, he'd file for a restraining order for the baby's safety. He knew how to twist everything. He always did, so I started sleeping in my car. I'd park behind the diner or at rest stops off I-35, trying to stretch what little money I had left on cheap food and gas. Nights were cold. My belly was getting bigger. Sometimes the baby would kick and I'd cry, whispering, "We're gonna be okay, I promise." But I didn't believe it. One morning, I got a call from my doctor's office. They said Derek had called pretending to be me and asked to cancel future appointments. The receptionist thought it was weird and double-checked. My heart dropped. Why would he even do that? That week, weird stuff kept happening. Someone loosened the gas cap on my car. I found a screw missing from one of the tires. And once, when I went back to my storage unit, my box of baby clothes had been opened and ripped. It felt like someone was trying to erase me, piece by piece. Then one night, when I stopped by a 7-Eleven to use the restroom, I saw them. Derek and Kayla, pulling up in his truck. They didn't see me. She was in the passenger seat, laughing, holding his hand. The same truck we'd used to drive to our first ultrasound. I ducked down behind a car and just watched, shaking. That's when I saw something glowing faintly under the passenger seat when the door opened. A red light. It was only for a second, but I recognized it. The charging light of a phone. Later that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. He never let me touch his phone toward the end. He said it was work stuff. But that glow haunted me. When I found his spare keys in my bag a few days later, I knew I had to look. I told myself it was just to find proof, something to finally make people believe me. But deep down, I think I already knew what I was going to find. And when I turned on that hidden phone and saw those messages, "She'll be gone soon, baby," my blood went cold. Gone, not left, not moved out. Gone. That's when I stopped being scared. That's when I decided I was done being their victim. I sat in my car with that burner phone in my lap, scrolling through their messages until my eyes hurt. Most of it was disgusting. Sex, jokes about me, about how naive I was, about how easy it was to convince everyone I was unstable. But then I found the part that made my skin crawl. A conversation dated 3 weeks before he kicked me out. "Kayla, we need to move faster." She's starting to suspect. "Derek, I told you I'm handling it, just chill." "Kayla, if she finds out before we're ready, this could blow up. You know what happens if she starts talking." Derek. Then we make sure she can't. Then, a few days later, Derek. I took care of the vitamins. If she keeps getting dizzy, she'll have to go to the hospital. That's when we'll figure something out. Kayla, you're sure it won't hurt the baby, Derek? I don't care about the baby, it's not even mine. That line, it's not even mine, hit me like a punch. He wasn't just cheating, he'd been trying to make me sick. And now he was claiming the baby wasn't his, even though there was no one else. I'd been loyal to him the entire time. The only possible explanation was that he was setting up some narrative, some story where I was the liar, the manipulator, the crazy ex who trapped him with someone else's kid. And worse, he'd been talking about me like I was disposable. Like I was a problem to get rid of. I dug deeper. The more I read, the more twisted it got. They'd planned for him to propose to me only after she moved in. The whole thing had been staged to make me dependent on him financially, to get access to my savings, to make sure I was stuck. One message from Kayla actually said, "Once she's out, you'll have everything you wanted. The apartment, the money, the truck. We'll start fresh." And then another from Derek, "Don't worry, babe, she'll look crazy. Everyone already believes she is. All I gotta do is push her a little more." Push me. Like that night when he screamed at me until I started crying and then told his sister I was unstable. Like the times he accidentally locked me out. Like the night he smashed my phone and said it was for my own good. He was building a case against me. I realized in that moment that the man I thought I loved had never loved me at all. He'd been using me, setting me up to destroy me slowly and then erase me completely. And the woman I'd trusted with everything, my best friend, my sister in every way but blood, was right there with him. I felt something inside me snap. Not rage, not sorrow, something colder. A kind of stillness that made me see everything clearly for the first time. If they were planning to get rid of me, then I needed to move before they did. And I knew exactly where to start. Because Derek had forgotten one thing, I still had his spare truck keys. And now, his second phone. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in my car outside that same 24-hour diner, the burner phone glowing in my hands, and went through every message, every photo, every timestamp. I made screenshots of everything, forwarded them to a new email I made under a fake name. Then I uploaded them all to a private cloud folder labeled insurance. Because that's what this was now, survival. I started thinking like him, cold, calculated. I asked myself, what would Derek do if the roles were reversed? The answer came fast. He'd use the truth to destroy me publicly, then make sure no one could prove it was him. So that's what I'd do. I started with the truck. It was parked outside their apartment most nights. I knew the security cameras there were fake. Derek bragged about installing decoys to save money. I waited until 2 a.m., drove by, and took photos of the truck, inside and out. I even recorded a video of me turning on the hidden phone in it, proof of where I found it. Next, I contacted his job. I called the auto shop from a different number and told the owner that one of his employees had been stealing parts and reselling them. I knew it was true because I'd seen messages between Derek and another guy about flipping catalytic converters. The owner didn't say much on the call, but I could hear how quickly his tone changed. Then I called the landlord of our old apartment. Derek had told him I abandoned the lease. I sent screenshots showing how he'd changed the locks illegally while I was still on the lease. The landlord texted back, "He's out. I'll deal with him." I wasn't finished. The next day, I went to the police, not to accuse him of cheating, but to report the messages about making sure I can't come back and tampering with my medication. They opened a report immediately. I gave them the phone. They said they'd look into it, but I knew that might take time, so I started on the next part myself. I made a backup of the messages where he said the baby wasn't his. Then I sent them to his family. His mom, his sister, his cousin, every one of them. No explanation, just screenshots. Within an hour, his sister texted me, "WTF is this, girl?" 2 hours later, I got another message from Derek. "You think you're smart? You just made a big mistake." I didn't respond. I just smiled. Because the next part wasn't about texts or screenshots. It was about taking back everything he thought he'd stolen. See, Derek didn't know I still had access to our joint account. He'd forgotten about the credit card we'd opened together. He'd been using it for months, charging dinners, hotel stays, and gifts for Kayla. I downloaded every statement and highlighted all his fraudulent charges. Then I sent them straight to the credit company. They froze the account that same day. He was cut off. Still, I wanted something more permanent. Something that would leave a scar. That's when I remembered Kayla's job interview. She'd been bragging about it weeks before, the one at the law firm downtown. She'd listed me as a reference. And that gave me an idea so cold it almost scared me. I pulled into a parking lot, turned off my phone, and started writing down everything I was going to do next. Every name, every step, every message I'd expose. Because if Derek and Kayla wanted me gone, I was going to give them exactly what they wanted, just not in the way they expected. 2 days after I sent the screenshots, Derek's sister called me in tears. She said he'd been fired from the shop, that his boss had found the stolen parts in the trunk of his car. Apparently, he'd tried to blame it on someone else, but the owner had already seen the screenshots I'd given him. Derek was now under investigation. I should have felt satisfied. Instead, I felt nothing. Just this eerie calm. Then came Kayla's turn. Her job interview was scheduled for Friday morning. I called the firm's HR department the day before and said, in a quiet, measured voice, "I just wanted to confirm if you received the documents regarding a fraud complaint involving your applicant, Kayla Parker." I didn't even have to explain. Her name was already attached to Derek in the credit card mess. They said they'd follow up. By noon that day, she texted me, "You're ruining my life. Haven't you done enough?" I didn't reply. But something about that message made my hands start shaking. Haven't you done enough? As if I had been the one who destroyed someone's home, someone's trust, someone's body. Then I saw a new message come through from an unknown number. No name, just, "You should have stayed quiet, you'll regret this." It was from Derek's burner phone, the one I'd turned in, which meant someone still had access to it, someone he trusted enough to retrieve it from evidence. Someone who wanted to scare me. That night, I stayed awake in my car, every shadow outside making me jump. I started to wonder if I'd pushed too far. If maybe Derek was capable of more than just lies. But the next morning, my fear turned into something else. The detective I'd spoken to called. He said the phone logs had revealed something unexpected, another woman. Someone Derek had been seeing before Kayla. A woman named Mara, who'd filed a police report last year claiming Derek had stalked her after she broke things off. The detective said they'd contacted her, and she wanted to speak with me. When I met Mara at a coffee shop near downtown, I barely recognized her at first. She was older than me by a few years, soft-spoken but visibly nervous. She told me everything. Derek had proposed to her, too. She'd gotten pregnant. Then one day she'd fallen down the stairs, lost the baby. He'd told everyone she was unstable, just like he told them about me. And the worst part, Kayla knew. She'd known about Mara. She'd been Derek's friend back then, too, the same pattern, the same script. Mara looked at me across the table and said quietly, "He won't stop until you're gone. You can't just expose him, you have to make him afraid." That was when I realized something terrifying. My revenge had been too clean, too logical. Derek didn't care about losing his job or his money. He only cared about control, about making people believe his version of the story. To destroy him, I'd have to take that from him completely. So I made a new plan. One that didn't involve the police or credit cards or screenshots. This one would hit where it hurt most, his pride, his public image, his ability to pretend he was the victim. I was going to make sure everyone saw the real Derek, the one who smiled at baby showers and poisoned his pregnant fiancé, the one who used women like steps on a ladder until they broke. And I wasn't going to do it alone. Because Mara wanted in. When Mara and I met for the second time, she brought something with her, an old voicemail she'd saved on her phone, the kind of thing you keep because it proves you weren't crazy. It was Derek's voice, soft and flat, the kind of voice that could sell you a car or tell you he loved you and mean neither. In it, he was talking to someone, an ex or a buddy, I don't know, about cleaning up problems and how easy it is to make people disappear from a life. He laughed at the end. It sounded like a man rehearsing cruelty like a speech. Hearing that laugh in a recording made it concrete. Not just abuse, not just cowardly manipulation, this was method. He had a system. Mara told me about the pattern. Target an empathetic woman, make her dependent, isolate her, then either gaslight her until she looks unstable or ruin her enough that no one will trust her testimony. She'd been convinced it was an accident. She'd been told she'd lost the baby because she'd been clumsy, because she was fragile. Everyone believed Derek. He was charismatic. He knew how to play the hurt son, the helper. He wore the performance like a uniform. But why? That question sat in my chest like a stone until Mara gave me the line that cut it wide open. She said, "He collects exits. It's not a cute quirk. He literally builds lives he can walk out of." He took pride in engineering breakpoints. A ring bought with someone else's money, a lease that would toss a woman onto the street the minute he wanted, a network of friends who would reflexively believe him. For him, people were projects and endings. The thrill came not from sex or money alone. It was from the control of the story, the power to rewrite someone's life and watch them unravel in a plot he'd authored. Then Mara slid me a folder. Inside were clinic receipts, dates, whispered apologies from other women whose pregnancies had been questioned after fainting spells or accidents. A medical bill with "fall downstairs" as the explanation. A message where he joked about easier to disappear when they're high on nausea meds. Reading that, bile rose in my throat. He didn't just want me gone, he wanted the narrative. That I was the dramatic, unstable one whose claims were ridiculous. He wanted to be the victim of my supposed hysteria. In his mind, that would make him untouchable. And Kayla, Mara didn't paint her as a mindless accomplice. Kayla got something out of it too: money, attention, the rush of being elevated into his inner circle. She liked the luxury items, the idea that she'd helped orchestrate someone else's erasure. For her, betraying me was a ladder. For Derek, I was a puzzle to solve. How to remove a dangerous variable without dirtying his hands. The coldest part was how logical it all sounded when he explained it to someone else, like describing a job. "You make the woman small," he'd said in that voicemail. "You make her the story and then you remove the storyteller." He used the word remove like you would talk about clearing debris. No empathy, no hesitation, just efficiency. That's the thing that chills me now. The understanding that none of it was about love, passion, or even money in the typical sense. It was about reputation and narrative control. He was building a life where he could always walk away with a clean conscience because he'd already written the script everyone would accept. The woman broke, the man battered by drama. Knowing this changed the whole game. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was survival against a man whose weapon was story and who'd spent months turning our life into his fiction. If I exposed him, he'd spin a counterstory. If I stayed silent, he'd try to erase not just me but my child's future. Mara looked at me, eyes steady and hard. "He thinks in exits," she said. "Make sure this one's his." After that meeting with Mara, everything locked into place. I finally understood what Derek had been doing, and I knew exactly how to end it, by turning his own obsession with control against him. We spent 2 weeks preparing. Mara still had old messages, screenshots, even a police report that had gone nowhere. I had Derek's burner phone, his stolen credit statements, and proof that he'd tampered with my prenatal vitamins. Separately, they were fragments. Together, they were a story, the kind Derek couldn't rewrite. We created a shared drive called Pattern of Harm. We filled it with evidence, timelines, names of the women he'd dated, everything cross-labeled with proof of manipulation and theft. Then we shared the link anonymously with his boss, his family, Kayla's new employer, and most importantly, a local reporter who'd been investigating workplace harassment in small businesses. It was surgical. The email's subject line simply said, "How many women need to almost die before you believe them?" The fallout hit fast. The story went online 2 days later under the headline, "Mechanic accused of targeting pregnant women in pattern of psychological abuse." It didn't use his last name at first, but everyone local knew who he was. The photos of him with Kayla at a car show were enough. By the next morning, his face was everywhere, not smiling this time, but red-eyed, caught by a neighbor's camera as he tried to cover his car's license plate with a trash bag. He quit his job before he could be fired. Kayla deleted every trace of him from social media, then her own accounts entirely. And me, I finally slept through the night. I got a call from the detective a week later. The lab had confirmed traces of foreign substances in the vitamins I'd turned in, something that could have made me dizzy, even faint. He said they were opening a criminal case. I just listened, calm, quiet, steady. Mara and I stayed in touch. We became allies more than friends. Trauma had burned too much of the old language away. She helped me file a civil case, and I helped her get her restraining order finally enforced. Months later, when my son was born, I didn't put Derek's name on the birth certificate. He tried to contact me once before the arrest, sent a letter through his mother claiming I'd ruined his life. I didn't reply. Because here's the truth, I didn't ruin anything. I just showed the world what he'd built. When I finally got my own apartment, a small, sunlit one-bedroom in South Austin, I printed one of the screenshots and framed it. The one where Kayla had texted him, "She'll be gone soon, babe." It hangs above my desk now, a reminder, because I was gone from his story, his lies, his control, but not erased, not silenced. He lost everything because he tried to script my ending, and I wrote my own instead. He called me unstable, turns out. I was the one steady enough to watch his whole world collapse.